Welcome back to part 3 of our module Unpacking 12 Keys for Church Growth. And so far we've covered the first 9. Now to the final 3. Number 10, develop financial resources and exercise responsible stewardship. Maximize the giving potential of the church, build the church's financial base, and administer the church's finances with accountability and transparency. How do we do that? Here are 10 ideas. A. As the senior leader, you must model a lifestyle of giving, generosity, and sacrifice. Even if the people don't know how or how much you give, there is a spiritual principle of leading by example. God gave His one and only Son. King David gave out of his own wealth to build the temple. B. Develop a capacity and skill to raise funds. The senior pastor is the principal fundraiser in the local church. And I once heard a prominent pastor say, big leaders are big fundraisers. Don't shy away from speaking about and raising money. It begins with the simple act of graciously asking. Gracious asking results in generous giving, whereas half-hearted asking results in half-hearted giving. C. Cast and regularly communicate the church's vision. People will give to vision rather than inertia. Money follows vision, not the reverse. Momentum produced from vision inspires people to give. And there are a lot of faithful people who give to the Lord as responsible stewards, but there is a greater giving potential in every church. And when people catch and understand the vision of the pastor, they tend to buy in and they begin to give above and beyond their regular tithes and offerings. D. Teach and preach annually on giving, tithing, stewardship, generosity, and sacrifice. It is important to do this from the pulpit and also to utilize the small group network of the church. Be specific. Be balanced when teaching on the areas of prosperity, sowing, and reaping. If appropriate, bring in someone who specializes in teaching on this area. E. Run annual stewardship campaigns towards specific objectives or church programs. For example, missions or a building fund. Be clear in what you're raising money for, and during the weeks leading up to the designated Sunday, be clear and creative in making people aware of the objective, why they should give toward it, and how, in practical terms, they can give, whether it's online or credit card or cash. Let the congregation know the result as soon as possible and be publicly and sincerely appreciative of the people's giving. As a church, celebrate the outcome, affirm, value, and nurture people with a gift or a grace of giving, but don't misuse or exploit them. And have specific dinners or gatherings for those with a gift of giving where you can communicate a number of the projects that need funding. F. Provide options for how people can give, whether as said it's online or credit card or cash. Design giving forms which outline people's options for how to give and where to designate their gifting, for example, building fund or missions. Have an FPOS, electronic machine, available for people to give before or after the service. Some churches have them available in their bookstores. But make the actual process of giving as easy, accessible, and user-friendly as possible. G. Appoint a church board or council or elders, people who have a proven generous heart, not a stingy mindset, who are big thinking, not narrow-minded, and who are experienced and skilled in managing financial resources. The board administers the church's finances and assists the senior pastor in formulating strategies and budgets to execute his or her God-given vision. The board should monitor the church's finances, giving trends, adherence to budget of the various departments and ministries, and cash flow. Boards also have a responsibility to remunerate the pastor generously and the staff appropriately. H. Appoint a faithful and trustworthy church treasurer or accountant or administrator. The role of the treasurer administrator is to serve the pastor by administering the church's finances and being the pastor's delegate in financial matters. They should keep the pastor and the board informed with all the current data, for example, monthly profit and loss statements, income and expenditure. They should also let the pastor know as soon as possible the amount of tithes and offerings from the weekend services. Also, they should monitor the church departments, for example, youth or children's or the old people. Just watch their income and expenditure to ensure they adhere to the budgets. In addition, they should be responsible to comply with government and denominational requirements. Put accountability measures in place to ensure transparency and compliance with the government, the church board and congregation. Checks and balances are essential to protect the pastor and the church from unwarranted and unnecessary criticism. The pastor should be one step removed from directly dealing with the money and have at least 2 or 3 people who count the money after the offerings are taken. I could tell you a lot of stories of ushers who stole money when they were counting alone. And after counting, ensure it is stored in a secure area. Now, depending on the government rules, have the church books audited annually. And depending on how your church is governed, whether it's a congregation or a board, and the church constitutional requirements, distribute the annual financial reports to the annual church members meeting and be open for questions so that you can be as transparent as possible. J, if there are surplus funds, invest them wisely in appreciating assets, things like land, or in sound and safe interest-bearing funds. Set aside a portion of the budget for the future, like your building program or staff costs, such as their sick leave or long service leave. And wherever possible, build up the church's financial reserves. Beware of high yield, high risk investments. You know the old saying, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. It's better to be conservative when administering God's money that has been entrusted to you by faithful givers. Key number 11, competent administration and management. Develop and maintain competent personnel and systems to administer and manage the operational side of the church or ministry. How do we do that? Here are 10 keys. A, appoint a skilled and experienced administrator to oversee the operations of the church. Ensure it is someone who has the capacity to grow with the growth of the church. B, appoint a godly, skilled church board, you may call them council, to represent the congregation in matters pertaining to the law, governance, property, and the salaries and workplace health and safety. C, appoint a competent, skilled personal assistant. Doing so will nearly double the effectiveness of any pastor. Wherever possible, delegate work to this person and get the personal assistant to vet all your calls and make your appointments. D, ensure compliance with federal, state and local legislation, requirements and laws. E, adopt best practices when it comes to things like human resources and accounting, remembering that the church is still a workplace, a business, and as such there are systems and practices that can increase the professionalism and efficiency of the church's operations and staff. F, form a branding or marketing team or engage a firm or ministry to help you think through how you will promote the church. Capture the one central thing you want the church to be known for and engage a graphic designer to design a logo that can be used on everything like your signs and letterhead, website and social media as the one message or image or brand that you want to be sent from your church. This helps with branding your church to the community and keep social media posts and website information completely up to date. G, produce a quarterly or biannual church magazine, whether it's printed or virtual, to showcase what God has been doing in the church over the previous months and to communicate where the church is going. It could highlight one of the many programs or ministries in the church and have a section where you, the pastor, can write a succinct message to the people. H, ensure all church advertising, giving forms, new people's forms are available in the foyer and information desk prior to Sunday and online. And I, regularly promote one or two of the ministries of the church each Sunday to lift their profile and to honour those who serve in that area. And J, plan ahead and have a think about what is coming up and delegate people to do specific tasks. Key number 12, adequate facilities for growth. Provide for the present and future congregation with the facilities necessary to deliver the various ministries and services. Here are some ideas. A, wherever possible, choose a location that is visible and accessible, like near major roads or access to public transport, and signage that is clear and visible. B, build or maintain suitable clean amenities like really good toilets. C, adequate parking for growth and car park attendance, plus security of parked vehicles during services. One in a suburban church I know in a high crime area in my city had to install security cameras inside and outside the church to deter crime and help the police catch perpetrators. D, choose a meeting location large enough to conduct services with sufficient comfortable seating. E, purchase and maintain a suitable PA system, data projectors, screens, and the appropriate information technology, software and hardware to run the systems. F, where possible and practical, have an adequate foyer or area where people can gather for community, either before or after the service, and which contains an information counter for people seeking to make inquiries. G, designate a dedicated area for the children's ministry. That's really important. H, provide an office area with sufficient space for the operational and pastoral side of the church and the infrastructure, that is computers and software, desks, chairs and work areas to facilitate a growing staff. I, maintain an up-to-date and user-friendly web address and social media sites so people can connect and check out what the church is doing electronically. And J, think generationally. Plan and purchase for the future. Seize opportunities to purchase land for a future building or relocation, even if it means being stretched. Don't pass up on great opportunities. And that's it. That's the end of our 3-part module looking at 12 keys for church growth. I know it's been a lot to absorb, but I hope you found it helpful, and I've tried to add as many practical ideas as possible within a very short time frame. My prayer is that as you implement the principles that were relevant for you, your church will continue to grow in all aspects, spiritually, numerically, financially, relationally, and generationally, and faithfully, to the glory of God. God bless you.